Manage language interpretations, I assume. Okay. It has add interpreter. All I see is the Chinese. I don't see anything about Spanish. By adding interpreter, and then her name is, what's her name again? And no, the only Anna is Anna Redskowska. Um, okay, I see Anna Sophia Moore. I can make her co-host, but I don't see how to make her. I see chat. Ask to start video. Pin. Make host. Make co-host. Rename. Allow to record. Allow multi-pin. Put in waiting room. Remove report.
John,
Yes.
if you click on interpretation, there should be a place you can assign a new interpreter.
Hold on. When I click on interpretation, I see original audio, English, Chinese, and then manage language interpretation. That's all I see.
Is there a space to add another interpreter?
Hold on, Kendra, because I'm talking to Rocco.
Go ahead.
I did, and then once again I see interpreter one, which is you, English to Chinese, and then interpreter two, not joined, and it's also English. I don't have an option to do it. Like I don't see an icon that says invite.
Ina. Ina.
No,
Hello.
it's okay. I don't see.
평소 뒤도 신도아.
I don't know what to do either.
한마 좀 스키 차송.
So should we start? As Drupal said, we are already past 5.
Okay. Den är det Peer-bok till 20 år.
And
Share.
can you share the prayer book for opening prayers?
Yes.
Okay. Dolo domare jibe da no bare jibe ge tarwa dang tam chin chenbe partu juba jiba tam chi je zo jibe ma nam ka dang nyambe sim chen tam chi deva dang den dumara dang chi nyor de la na mi para yang ta para Zobe chancho rinpo che toba chai dala damare chibe chai nobare chibe ge tarva dang tam chi chenbe vardu jubara chiba tam chi che su chibe ma nam ka dang nyambe sem chen tam chi deva dang den dungar dang chi Nyor de lana mi bara yang ta bara zobe shang chu rinpo chi to bara cha. Yeah, English.
All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly will I establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood.
Te che te sang ma che che var de nu nga yi sun ge wa la ko ma che var de nu nga yi sun ge wa la ko tu te ren ne song de nye ma sang da zam che var de nu nga yi sun ge wa la ko
Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind.
我打听这个，当给都给小姐这种期间买到对接工具，每次接通报，大把的级别个小姐这个小拉乡这路都是常见的，像往北路那路他们买他不跑，人家跟工个里什么点子为了没，早就了嘛，也他们就用老师话，那说道具新街路。我真的，当我做天气的话，可上他的我被求救噻，这个我被求救噻，我经常可上总怕的，他在那边请你过，对，就说。我这几天呢，当时呢，嘛，真多的，写了当车吧，写了当这吧，那天去吃吧，那么特别做工弄吧，些故事，我的车去了，我这车去哇，我被去就车去哇。
So last time we were in the 10 necessary things, and the last verse was verse number 3. You need to select instructions from the Guru unmistakenly. And then, so we talked about the following the qualified Guru. And today we continue with verse number 4. You need to assimilate the sublime Guru's realization with discriminating knowledge and persistent devotion. So.
我大街上可上到那边请你过那种，大街上那么那罗马一样子意思，这个过来是写了才把有种这个过来是，请你的呢写了这没种的那么多，我才把这刚把这个来是我请你点呗，那么这个你呢是的，然后这写了这过来是都就研究，这写了没成过没呢，求的求没求明白的求满明白的就1万次去个嘛的是。我听你写了这样，给请过来是。我听样子想，可能写了，明天中午就我，你们那写了，明天中午有的是个写家空要写个嘛是，朗读肯定是做写个嘛是，大概话怕了，这边那这边朋友做朗读肯定是做写个嘛是，我在这给的给在用户那这种我嘛做啊，这个我办过样的，怕了，你不那样的，他们做嘛用他是我过了，其他他也用嘛的是。我们把这是的呢，我听出这是。
So before we talked about how to follow the qualified guru and what's their qualities, and so now in the next verse, it's also speaks about qualities that we have to possess, and that is we need to have some discriminating awareness and faith. This discriminating awareness or wisdom is like the eyes, like your eyes, and your faith is like your legs. And so you need to find a qualified guru, and then that person also must be someone who possesses these qualities himself, like wisdom and faith. So it's very important that they understand that, because otherwise they will not be able to discern between the different meaning of the sutras and the commentaries and so on. They will not be able to discern between what is virtues and what is non-virtues. So in order to be able to discern what should be done and what should be given up, one needs to have a certain level of discriminating awareness. And if one lacks this awareness, then one is flawed in a way, because one doesn't clearly recognize that this is virtue or this is non-virtue, something to engage in, something not to engage in. So therefore, one is unable to prevent something from happening or adopting something. So one is kind of in a state of ignorance if one lacks this discriminating awareness. So,
就当咱俺让做几天，几天被吃吧就呢，咱俺让做，写了这开进步差的是吧？写了这兄弟看你去讲写了不说的，我。我去几天你去到写了过去的，去几天吧，那这个是那个写了开进步的，写了我们家个哇。我这这这是等于绿天呢，咱这趟去呢，咱个说，可别走吧，他马上一把的哇，我这点点注意了说，这是用口的是，我这做我的，写了不那马上一把这的，这样出去什么，写了表不用嘛，我这呢，我点把写了说，他这种公用点吧，这马上一把的是公用点吧，他都公用钱呢，他来的要么就公正的吧，我这的公用点，送我的马上一把一把送我的是，我这你他写了的，你那他求的求。把这浪多的，要不这些个嘛的意思，我这呢，出去那路的多个嘛的意思，我这里其他要不没那个做中文的意思。
And so it is quite important to have discriminating awareness, and not just in the Dharma, but also in our mundane, our ordinary activities. We must have some awareness of what we are doing. Everything will just go much better if we have some discriminative awareness. And so it is said that the root of samsara is ignorance, and the ignorance is the opposite of discriminating awareness. And from the root of ignorance, then develop the 12 links of interdependent origination. If you possess this discriminating awareness, your mind cannot become obscured by that root of ignorance. Of the Four Noble Truths, this root of ignorance is the second truth, the truth of the origin. And so if you do not possess discriminating awareness, you will not be able to discern between what to do and what not to do. You will not understand, see the workings of karma, cause and effect. And so therefore many faults come from not having awareness, and ultimately you will not realize how things actually are.
Shara mina mimi paro chinga sta paro chimba no what me mi ba na shara zi ma zina zo be chang jiu to me what is pa ji tu go de pa chinga de sang ji top top ma de shara mina shara paro chimba zi ma zina je tang jia so za ge wa zi paro chimba de so na sang ji top top ma de 写种是我的是难度的吧，的那这种这个出来日大他家去现在。日大你做这样了，他会生我的生存的日大生生挺重要的，挺重。对，写了点半卡拉切伊，我等下做主从这种强着是可以让他晓得，写了点段，应该都能把下一呢，日大可以在那里起头个嘛哇，我听着这是那个吃的，日大能家起头个嘛哇。
And then it is said in the abridged or the abbreviated Prashna Paramita that if one who lacks discriminating awareness is like a blind person, and even if they possess the other 5 perfections, not 5 of the 6 perfections, if they lack wisdom or discriminating awareness, they cannot attain the state of complete enlightenment. And then also it is said in the same sutra that lacking awareness is just like being a deer that is kind of enchanted by like the flute or the kind of the seduction of the hunter, and therefore when it falls into his hands, it is certain to die. And so those who
对，能把钱包送钱的，但是日大人你心着个哇，钱的信仰要嘛能把帮着个哇。
So
true的嘞，这当然写了点嘛，true 啊，点嘛，true 个嘛的是的。
So yeah, a confused person is someone just like a deer enchanted by the hunter's flute, and someone who possesses wisdom is like a bird that will not be caught by this trick. It will just fly. The bird will just fly away.
我真正中国泡沫主义这种我来说，对写了，他们把写了那把种写了那把种的，这诺种种写了那个诺种种，我诺种种他帮的是帮完的，可是呢，图片写了就是真看到当个是要不满年的图片写了没呢，要不满年的诺可不得种图的，我这帮图片的是满年把起图的说，我满年把起图片的是，我这上边写了就是诺写多的不的。就那样一嘛样想到的就来五张啊那种，我这起头嘛是买几把这样这样头的是，我真的光别写了就看到是呢，他头见的头什么样不就头这送要不嘛，我这当个做那么多的牛毛把它送这送那这光别就要不嘛是帮那的呢，牛毛你不当头的是呢，这牛毛把你不点的牛毛没把说头的是，我这呢写了不用弄就用什么的帮头，写了不用呢。
Sungkyan?
Pamodroba.
Pamodroba.
Mm.
And so then Pamodroba had said he taught about those 3 faults of a pot. And so there's 3 different mistaken ways of listening to the teachings or reflecting on them or practicing and meditating on them. And so he said that if one listens to the teachings without an awareness, so without any awareness of listening to the teachings, one is like an upside down pot. So if you're not aware of what you're listening to, then nothing will actually enter your mind. So you're like an upside down pot. And then if you do not have the wisdom of reflection, that is, if you hear those words and you hear them, you have awareness of what you hear, but then you don't keep them in mind. They just come in and then leave you again. Then you're like a pot with a hole. So first it goes in, and then it goes back out. And then third, if you practice, if you meditate on the teachings with an afflicted mind, with many thoughts in your mind, and you are like kind of a toxic pot, like a dirty pot, then the meditation is also not very beneficial, because it is like pouring food into a dirty or kind of a poisonous pot. So actually the practice is supposed to become an antidote to the afflictive emotions. So
양 파모트베 거르존은 쿠바 봉야 지가 달라나미가 장초 투비아 오라 지발랑 시랍 좀 개치 모르스 어디 시랍 좀 개치 버 시랍 좀 보디 거르선 투비 시랍도 잠비 시랍 곰비 시랍 좀 봐. 어디 투비 시랍 그 뇨몬테 우소송 투그레스 잠비 시랍 그 다삼중 시랍 되어 되게 뇨몬 바망고 내야 투그레스 어디 공중 시랍 되게 뇨몬케 자와 파봉 투그레스
Famodrupa also said that in order to abandon the root of samsara, it is important to cultivate these three kinds of wisdom or awareness. So that is the wisdom that comes from hearing, from reflecting, and from meditating. First, when you develop this discriminating awareness of hearing, when you hear teachings, you will recognize the afflictive emotions. Then when you develop this wisdom or awareness of reflection, you will be able to suppress the afflictive emotions, keep them at bay. And when you develop the wisdom, the awareness of meditation, you will be able to completely uproot, to completely destroy the afflictive emotions.
我真的他대바 제가 시랍도 대바 내서 대바든 듬바든 나면 제가 소리 들어야돼 다 계지 모르는 거 차요레스 다 데로바 나로바 다 가와 중이 사지 간타 중이 다 가와 니 사비지 라쇼라 어 가와 니 사비지 알아서 말아래 반마베자 소리 공간지야 다 뭐보데 데레르 좀 냠내지야 데르 뭐뭐 좀我这程度是that didn't know. You might have come out as a chief race there, or come out of the chief, not all as a concept of chief race.
So that is the first part, and then the second quality we need to possess is faith. And so faith or faith and devotion are really essential for our practice, and that essentially means that we should practice according to the guru's instructions. For example, we can look at the story of Naropa, who trained under Tilopa, and Tilopa put Naropa through 12 major and 12 minor hardships, 24 hardships in total. Or we can think of Milarepa and the hardships he endured under Marpa, and he had to construct and tear down houses, and all the hardships he endured in mountain retreat. So we can think about the things that the past great masters have done and then try to emulate them as much as possible.
我真的如果碰到대바 세대 답에 개치 모르겠어. 대바 연태 탐지 중요하래. 대바 연태 중요하. 대바 노원 정도스 연태 탐지 중요. 노원 정도. 대한 정도스. 대세요. 대지나타 노원 정도 넣어. 我这상지 산로야了刚把정도스. 我这强调托巴西呀的延浪정도스. 我这给别za바 탐지做对图给的 대바틱. 我这种都如果碰到
And then also the Jigu Master Pamodroba said faith is very important. It is the source of all good qualities. It is like a jewel or a precious treasure. It is like the legs that bring you to the state of Buddhahood. It is therefore a branch that leads to enlightenment, and all roots of virtue come from faith.
我在这里马上的当个话这里，全他写进好友堂几把国松年中跟芒果话结果难多。我他这里全把的写进的肯定那个就，从几天可能那开起没的，但几天的七八十那个就全些也不能马上那这个的我做不到哇。这出的特别讲英语我出就接下了，真的全些的面那这好友我说的，但方面其呢真的从几天可能那做不到嘛的，我听对他全堂写进好友这种。 고som 예총 먹고서 누가 이 정도 예패 좀 먹고 와서 그게 정도.
Then we come to verse number 5. You need to remain untainted by faults in thought, word, and deed by being mindful, watchful, and careful. So mindfulness, alertness, watchfulness are really very important, not just in the Dharma again, also in our mundane activities. If you're unmindful, if you're not alert in what you're doing, then nothing will be accomplished. And then obviously it is very important in the Dharma. So the opposite of it is unmindfulness, being unmindful or careless. If one is careless and unmindful, nothing will be accomplished, either in the Dharma or in the world. So it's important to be free of this fault of unmindfulness and to develop a mind of an aware, a mind that is heedful, a careful mind, and a watchful, alert.
我这趟做别想的没你出版的社交呢，这样的生态呢，全把人送把小提所给的，全把没这些这样会，等那些人我做牛我们那看着的，全把人送呢，但你全把没看到都去过的，也送去了，全把别讲没你出版家呢，这天人送呢，把小提这样提这样给搞的，是吧？我别听那些，那做牛我们给的往说那样给搞的。
But for example, if two kind of rivals are in a conflict when they're fighting, and if there's like a kind of competition, basically, a kind of a duel, and then one of them is distracted, the other one might just knock him out because he's distracted. So then, once you're distracted, you're missing the right punches, basically. And so this is what happens when you become controlled by afflictive emotions. You are distracted and then you make mistakes.
我咱没几遍前把的，他几没着前把当，但是前把那些都没多弄的嘛，咱们这怕苦呀的写进下来是吧？我这你听一把就在开情报的也是，等几天小娃看的，你那呈现现在开情报的也是。
So in the text says that the commentary that we should have again a mindfulness that does not forget. So there's a kind of a constant mental presence, and that involves an awareness that always knows that you know that you are aware, whether you're aware or not. So there's an introspection that watches out for distraction. So you're not ever distracted. You're always fully present. And so that's really important. And that's also important in our daily life.
我这对真的单几天小娃那个这上面或者就为了他这些人说呢，马着我他这些马只有这些送的中国那里，他那个马着我是那个可怜呐，这但那会儿当然都特别出国学呢。那他说他们以前这样的，这告诉你那一种他说真的前面韩国这样的做这些的给进步的也是。
Also in our mundane activities, if we're distracted, we are likely to encounter some kind of obstacles and difficulties. And that really applies to anything we do. If we do something with distraction, it just won't turn out really well. And then it's especially true for the practice of the Dharma, because we practice the Dharma to attain liberation. And if we are distracted, if body, speech, and mind are distracted, then that cannot be achieved. So actually, in a critical factor, a kind of condition to attain liberation is mindfulness. So.
我真的那大街上那说去了他在那边去，我的但是人们用的，样的人们用给我这些，那些都没都这样的，他那把在前把没有去呀，我在前把那都没都这样，他写一天的，我的那要不在那种那就要这写一天的是，我的那的开心过的也是，对就那这种的是，什中都把那前把这样写前把的写一天。做了哈，这种学习是做了他们中国的是，我听我当然听我在大家，因为当时软的人，这些年天这个当然的是，年天听的，开心过的是，这些听我这个中国的是。
And so we speak about practicing with a single-pointed mind, and that also means to always watch out, am I being mindful or not? Am I becoming distracted? And so this awareness, that kind of this quality of awareness that always watches out for that, is called introspection. So you're very alert. And if you're mindful, and naturally that will be reflected in a positive external behavior conduct. And then it is said in the Bodhicharya Vatara, those who desire to protect their mind must always be mindful and conscientious, introspective, even at the cost of your life. Protect your mind. This is a prayer made with folded hands. So persistence is the key.
我的就有那头这种生生都有马头的，都有忙不机械家，生生都有的是的，这马头都有忙不写的就嘛的机械家是。我这你当俺做他话子，但几天吃完嘛的，俺做娘们去学的。我特别修养他把这阶段就上阶图表。我那个说是专注的啥的，我这娘们去学的，这种这些头那样开进步的认为。
And also in the Bodhicharya Vatara, it says, if you do not discipline your mind by protecting your mind, then what's the use of any outer physical forms of discipline? You have to discipline your own mind in the practice of the Dharma in order to practice the Dharma in an authentic way. And therefore, attaining enlightenment in a single body, in a single lifetime, really only depends on your diligence, your perseverance, and that, in essence, is mindfulness.
我的真的泡米写的，泡米这的，另外一种，但中他曾经过，俺们做的泡米做特别啊，但那边泡米，俺做经常在咱们这学话叫俺中的，这有的话学话叫，真的别想忙学很多可以，我的可是呢，真着真的别想忙学很多是的，我的这时候他泡米写的话没关系。我真的方面，他们呢，去阿拉但强同样的我来是样的，我咱们这地方是样，面的咱们这有的话，我这说啥，但是那个这，好像基本都特别是方面强的说的，但方面强说的真的，这平时他从这样个我的是让他把是都出来个我是，我这方面听当说呢，就有天做好像就个嘛的也是去年的是方面听了。别讲的，俺说他等把中间现在好没钱了，真的，东北过程恰个的是，东北过程。我这好友三中呀，开进步的好友三中钱呢，三中呢，这你把个中特别的是，我你把这个中对上届强调是把他们，然后去拉片拿新点的东西，这是拉片拿新点的东西。
拉片拿。
那点的东西，这是拉片。
那点哦，yeah, and so then there's unmindfulness, so kind of like literally it's like carelessness, being careless and unmindful. And so from this unmindfulness and carelessness arise all the faults of body, speech, and mind. All the faults come from being unmindful. So basically come from distraction. For example, nowadays, there are so many distractions. For example, people go to a casino and they gamble there. They roll the dice and they play cards and they spend all their money there, and then they lose all their money. So this behavior is called unmindfulness or carelessness. Or someone who gets drunk all the time, who drinks a lot of beer and wine and so on, and who becomes an alcoholic, or somebody who takes other forms of drugs or any kind of intoxicants. Anything that kind of brings you in this temporary, blissful, joyful state. So it seems really nice for the time being, but then eventually you become addicted and then you can no longer control it. So you're not disciplined at all. And so therefore, we can say that from a mindfulness, so probably no good quality can come from unmindfulness. For example, also in the Dharma, and somebody who holds the pratimoksha, individual liberation vows, if they are unmindful, they will not be able to keep their vows. So they will transgress their vows because they can't protect their mind. So mindfulness, this carefulness, is your ability, your discipline to protect your mind, to guard your mind. You're guarding your mind. So it is really something that happens from within the mind, so the guarding of the mind. And if you're able to guard your mind, if you're able to discipline your mind, you will be able to keep yourself from engaging in any negative actions. And so it is said that it is like having the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas residing in your hands.
咱从设备现在有的设体囊了，大体囊开始中了是呢，真多是吧的，我体囊了开始中是呢，好友对此恐慌的，但好友的对此恐慌对此人千万没别，但恐慌了，特别的好友的，开始呢，大把牙的好友，就几天开始呢，花几多也是也不吃了，我真喜欢了，后面一般呢，那呢，后面真的接着为的是，后面那前面的是吧的。Hami kadina te leka yang tap drop to ma chu na yona ya boti to ma dikten chawa na drop to ma hami chi din oten hami chi be so hawun chi ba ma jors hawun chi king chi ma res hami na chi ba chi dang ra so ta hami chi song chi ba ya ma res ta ko leka yang tap sa melu aso melu zar chi mo stop oten du ti na leka do ya ma bo yo re oten drop to ge so na drop to ge na melu lang de sin oten du ta drop to ma res 어떤 때에도 단세 지반장 창조です대단히 개별 화요는 어떤 개발도 화요치고 치트 봐봐 시바지 어떤 화요의 제반 봐봐이 봐 사고 그래서 화요는 저지 어떤 화요는 좋아지 하는 것들이스 어떤 봐봐 창조선 받아도 화요 신념이나 지든 창조선 받아도 가봐 들으셔야스 어떤 개별 기준도 공지스 개발도 다도 가능이 나다 好友期都在做年那起过的也是，等那开始那电波器，等那在方面头嘛，先进农作标起呢，所以话没别就把马家的起呢，我真的那起过的也是等于这上节啥 top 的也是。
上周sempre Quran gagre nga
no de 好友期年那起呢，上周是把时间通了哇。 선제 통원이 선제 제일 남녀친한테 가게 와. 좋아지.
Okay, so then in a text which is likely a sutra, it is called the Udana Varga. In there it says mindfulness or carefulness is like a nectar that gives you a life, and unmindfulness is where you find death. And so this is now more in a metaphorical sense. So one is kind of gives you life and one brings you down. And mindfulness will never bring you death, so will never bring you down. And unmindfulness is just like death. And therefore, the great masters are always mindful. And so when we what is he saying now? A note from Rinpoche about that. So when you're unmindful, anyone will not accomplish anything, whether in the world or the Dharma. So there's many things also in the world that we have to do, and nothing will be done well if we're unmindful. And on the other hand, anyone who is mindful can accomplish anything. Anyone who is unmindful will not accomplish anything well. So therefore, it is like death. It is like your ruin. And so therefore the great masters, they have always practiced mindfulness. And and it is, and so they have recognized mindfulness to be the best, most superior practice, because it is this practice that will bring us to enlightenment, and therefore, and they rejoice in our mindfulness, like the bodhisattvas, and because they are only concerned about our well-being, and if we practice, we will experience well-being. If we are mindful, that brings them the greatest joy, and so. It is therefore important to practice mindfulness on an ongoing basis. So to be so disciplined that you never allow yourself to waver from mindfulness. Then this will lead to the state of enlightenment. So.
真的，这说说特别多，就有的说说特别多，经常了，说他多的话，有把那强求特别的是中国的是，我这现在呢了，他给别就忙不是中国了，提倡嘛的，就会找啊的朋友的，就提找啊的朋友去啊，他这中国。
And then it says in the Pratimoksha Sutra, it says that if you are mindful, awakening, Buddhahood comes from that. It comes from mindfulness. And then in the different text called A Letter to a Friend, it says mindfulness is the root of the Dharma, of all good qualities.
这对咱个说这种或者是求法过程，过去年咱这哈没把强着，或者说他这别强着是咱个说吃饭这事，你嘛吃饭也我说，咱经常些他们都做，我们就哪边就有的话，我真就吃了，这第是把俺们说还没得强着出来，我这对我这还没去过程表那头年着个也是，年过了强着是，多用了强着是，真的我都强着个，真的这些好有功能。去年是那个开进步，是那说去年那几样，那这些好友是说开进步学差的个类似。
So then, someone who is unmindful, their conduct of body, speech, and mind will deteriorate. For example, we often speak about the deterioration of certain monks. So for example, we say, oh, these days he's not doing so great. And that's because of unmindfulness, basically. So because of unmindfulness, our behavior, our good conduct deteriorates into a negative conduct. And that is because if we are unmindful, we become attached to fame or reputation or kind of praise, and we become attached to various sense pleasures. And so for a true Dharma practice, mindfulness, therefore, is most important.
这点中国这种东，这点中开始现在，可让了你这有的那是让这玩的有那让了你这玩有那，前边没这边吧，前边没这那种叫中完的嘛，但是很多人那边从起是，我在这样他写一好友吧是这样他前把的写一的好友的，都是求南规矩咋吧是求规矩咋吧的是，特别阳不抗争我特别阳不这就中国的是，上级酒店的这就中国的是。
And Lord Chitin Sungen had said, my son, if you have some love for yourself, you should guard your mind with mindfulness for your entire life. Always make an effort in mindfulness, in carefulness, and in introspection. That is the root of the Dharma. And this was spoken by the Buddha himself.
我咱几天中那说这话，我那后面加上说，去几天可以呢，两个给，我之前的说，这话我请说，各种话有请了，这开进不恰的啥吧
？So what Jigdem Somgen was saying is that if you have no love for your or care for yourself, then through unmindful you will be unmindful, and your conduct of the Dharma, in the Dharma or in the world, will all deteriorate. And therefore, it is important to make a great effort in always being mindful with body, speech, and mind.
我咱今天中午开始中午是呢，他确实通过坚持上系统中有的忙不上我的成绩公司的从嘛他们做多少对呢？让 Sam 几个码头要嘛的，让 Sam 几个码头。我这上级重点的个，让 Sam 的用是对那上级点把一种，我等到一旦今天中午让 Sam 几个码头嘛的是，我对最终结论蛮意思，我最终结论上级成绩他码头他你说嘛是，来上面去开始呢，让 Sam 的规呢。在旅的啊，这个有关照就的，他做我的想这个，做我的工作呢的，我的蛮意思，我的六300元吧，他就爬帮过来送东西天300元吧，他就爬帮330他就做啊呀空白当下去呢，我330只要空白当下去过来意思，我的前把的写印法有吧，安保过是中国的，是另外一种可能的安保过那一种那个。他没收了，掐这个人，他们的车上街这个人，他那边站在那掐着，安保过他说。那知道说，我这是什么下子的，我这桥上解释给我，这是什么中国的这个对呢？我在结完之后被那么显明，我在结完之后，上级酒店的上桌呀，这里那么写到要嘛的是的呢，这句话他等把他要不是要开清不这说。
And also, Chichen Sungen said that the Buddha taught 84,000 Dharma teachings. And in brief, they are all about your mind. And the Buddha himself said, completely tame your own mind. This is the Buddha's teachings. And so Chichen Sungen therefore said, this is the essence of the Buddha's teachings. And all the Buddhas of the 3 times didn't find anything else of essence when it comes to practice than that. When it comes to attaining enlightenment, you have to tame your own mind. And so that means you have to discipline yourself. And that means your mind has to become like the master, and the body and the speech have to become the servants. And Jigden Somgen then said that, and therefore, to control your mind, give up negative thoughts and try to increase positive, virtuous thoughts. And always be mindful and be careful and be watch out for sense perception. So there's all kinds of things we see through our 5 sense doors. For example, we may see something with our eyes that we become attached to, or we may hear something we become attached to, or there's a smell that you really like or not like. So we develop thoughts of attachment and aversion. That can always happen because we encounter these sense objects all the time. So therefore, you always have to watch out, have this watchfulness, so that you can guard your mind from developing these negative thoughts. And so Jigden Sumgyen said that, and this is the only way to Buddhahood. There is no other way. And so that way is mindfulness.
我的这想从他的做样的在你吃饭的有呢，吃饭建议什么这是有呢，这是你想有呢，你想有呢，这是大概嘛可以总是吧。
We stop the teachings here tonight. We have time for a couple of questions. If you have any, let me see if there's something in the chat. Okay, not in the chat yet. Yeah, you can write it in the chat box. If you have no questions, then we will meditate. No questions, yeah? No.
ja, da sind wir, so da die wir so Computer sind. Scherzi,
Shared in some consultation, yeah.
ja, das gegen ist. Ja, der meint, du musst, was? Ich meine,
In English, yeah. A glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind, root and lineage lamas, divine assembly of Vidams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, yogins, yoginis, and dakinis dwelling in the 10 directions. Please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara and nirvana, and the innate root of virtue, not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth as a Shravaka or Pratyeka Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Maras, and the hordes of demons experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. And through that, may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of mind as such, and the pervading clarity of Dharmata. May I, in any case, gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tupano.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Chupala. Thank you,
Thank
Ina.
you.
Gracias.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.